Okay, the big day is almost here. You've built a strong relationship with a mammoth new client, and over the past few weeks, you've generated some strong rapport with them as well. All that's left, the single simple thing that's left, is to win them over with an engaging sales presentation. But you know the templated sales deck that your company has provided for you, that's not going to make the grade. And with this game-changing commission on the line, you're prepared to put in the extra work. And that is awesome because in this very video, I'm going to share a 6-step sales presentation framework that's going to tighten up your pitch and help you get the deal done. With this framework, you're going to create a truly valuable presentation that leaves your buyer saying, "Where do I sign?" Hey-o, and welcome to Selling Made Simple, where I, Will Barron, founder over at Salesman.org, break down everything that you need to know to beat your sales quota. So let's get right into it. So step 1 of the 6-step sales presentation framework is research, research, research. Research on the company, research on the challenges that they're facing, and research on the audience that you're going to be presenting to as well. Your research should guide your presentation and uncover insights and the angles that you should be using within the pitch itself. I've got 3 specific things that you should be working on. First off, the company. You should have a general idea of what the company does and its industry from any marketing data, business data, corporate data that you're going to find on their website. But you shouldn't stop there. Take a look into the company's history. Get a feel for these wishy-washy terms, but buyers love this. Company values and their culture as well. Examine any annual reports you can find and build the figures that are in annual reports into your slide deck as well. And the key here is immersion. The more you understand your buyer's business, the more you can tweak your presentation to match it. Next, I want you to research challenges. So perhaps the most important part of the entire sales presentation is catering to your buyer's specific needs. Is the industry going through a massive shift? Are the new competitors breaking into the space more rapidly than ever before? And how does your product relate to these challenges? Use any challenges that you can pick up on, or otherwise known as trigger events, as jumping off points to get your prospect listening and to give them real world applications on what you and your product offer. And the third thing you got to research is your audience. Are you going to be presenting to decision makers like an executive or the C-suite? Then you need to hit all of the metrics that matter. Or are you presenting to someone who's going to report up the food chain later on, like a gatekeeper or middle management, in which case you need to provide them with sales collateral, product information, marketing information, use cases, case studies, anything like that. That's going to make it easier for them to get buy-in from their decision makers later on down the line. Step 2 of the framework is to focus on the buyer's pain points first and your product second. Now, Sales Nation, this is because too many salespeople make the mistake of focusing on how great their product is, but you've got to remember, you aren't actually selling a product. You're selling a solution to a problem. I know it sounds cliche as I say that out loud for the gazillionth time in this YouTube content, but I still see salespeople getting this wrong all of the time. Your prospect does not care about how innovative your features are. All they care about is if you can solve their problems. So instead, make the main focus of your presentation the buyer's problems. Educate yourself on the buyer's pain points and put them in the sales presentation's spotlight. The core benefits of taking this approach include the fact that you show that you're informed about your buyer's problems. And of course, the more that you understand about the buyer's problem, the more that the buyer is going to trust that you have a solution. It also gives buyers the opportunity to fine-tune their problem in real time during the conversation as well. Your buyers are going to be able to clarify if you've misrepresented the challenges that you think that they're facing. You can then tweak your approach to match their needs. And on top of all of this, it builds trust. Remember, just 3% of buyers trust salespeople. Let that number sink in for a second. Only 3% of buyers trust salespeople. But if you can build trust, you become a trusted advisor, that you understand the buyer's needs, and you become not just another pesky salesperson, you become an individual who's in a unique place to offer insights and value to the buyer's business, and not just another sleazy sales pitch. And finally, all of this differentiates your product from the competition. Remember, executives are getting essentially countless sales pitches every year, and even the most charismatic of salespeople can easily get lost in all the rabble. But when you sell a solution rather than just your product, rightly or wrongly, because so many salespeople just suck, you're going to stand out from the crowd. Step 3 of the framework is to engage at least a little bit at the outset. So how do you usually start your sales presentations? Well, you should start them with a little bit of conversation. So many salespeople try to just jump into the thick of things. No small talk, no, hey, how's it going today? Chit chat, this stuff that you do in person, salespeople are doing less and less and less of as we do more and more and more remote sales. This chit chat is important. It builds rapport and it allows us to learn about who we're presenting to. And I get it, right? I understand Sales Nation. I really do. After all, time is money, right? And the more time that you spend on niceties, well, the less time there is to focus on the sales and getting the deal done. Right? Well, I'm not sure if I agree with that, because starting your presentation without a little bit of chit chat, in my mind, is a mistake. When you skip over the casual conversation, you're also missing the chance to build essential rapport, learn about the specific challenges your buyers are facing right now, today, and of course, use all this to better tailor your pitch to address the buyer's unique needs. So hear me out here. Just take a few minutes at the beginning of your presentation just to chew the fat with your audience. Keep things focused on the business, of course. A friendly remark about the weather might be a great icebreaker, but a 10-minute conversation about the rain, especially here in the UK, which could always be a topic because it rains so much, is clearly a massive time waster. Step 4 in the framework is to keep the conversation going. And one of the biggest myths in the sales industry is that a sales presentation should be one-sided. You're the expert and you're pitching to a potential customer. You get in, you present your case, you get out and close the deal. I've seen so many sales presentations where the only time buyers engage with the seller is when you invite questions at the very end of the presentation. But staying this structured in a modern B2B sales presentation is probably a misstep and it's hurting your numbers. Instead, take a few moments throughout the sales presentation to actually, as ridiculous as this sounds, talk to your potential customer. Ask after you make a clear point if this point is resonating with them. See whether the challenges that they're actually facing in the real world match up with the pain points that you're either assuming, hypothesizing, or presenting on your PowerPoint presentation. Inquire about the solutions that the buyers used in the past and try and solve some of these challenges in real time if you've got the expertise to do so. You can use all of this information that you're going to get from ongoing conversations to shift your presentation on the fly. But beyond that, you're going to be keeping your audience engaged because nothing spells doomed deal more than a room of people with half glazed over eyes, and shifting the focus to the audience just for a moment resets their attention span and brings their concentration back to you and the important things that you're sharing with them. Research shows that you should try and shift your presentation, the style, the content, whether you're looking at a screen or whether you're presenting face to face with the individual, at least every 9 minutes or so. Try and space out the different sections of your presentation with a mix of different focuses and mediums like slide presentations, product demos, video testimonials, detailed case studies, perhaps bring in a new speaker at certain points as a subject matter expert as well. The more varied your sales presentation is, the lower the likelihood that your audience are going to have their head in the clouds or their head in the sands ignoring you. Step number 5 in this 6-step sales presentation framework is to optimize your sales deck. Now, your company may recommend using the time-tested sales presentation deck, and across average industries, it may bring in some results, right? But if you really want to perk up your buyers' ears, get their attention, and get a deal done, you need to drop this cookie cutter approach. Instead, I want you to optimize your sales deck with a few tips that I'm going to run through now that's proven to keep your audience attention throughout the presentation. First off, cut down on the number of slides that you have because prospect overwhelm is real. And when you load up your 50-slide sales deck and it drags on and on and on and on, it can be a bitter pill to swallow. So rather than throwing everything that you have on the slide, why not keep it relatively simple? Highlight key images, highlight key statistics, and include any dynamic data that you can, like videos, to simplify your sales presentation. And leave any of the in-the-weed content to any sales collateral, like case studies or product specifications or marketing material that you can physically hand to your buyer if they want it at the end of the presentation. Next up, I want you to streamline your on-slide content very specifically as well, because you want to cut down on all the extra stuff that's on the slides. It can be tempting to include every bullet point, every piece of information that you possibly could, but doing so leads your buyers to not reading any of it. Whereas when you're selective about the information that you display, you can control your buyers' attention. And this gives you the power to build rapport fast, to sway them with storytelling, to highlight the important points that actually matter, and to address pain points head on. Essentially anything on a slide that is not building rapport, swaying with storytelling, highlighting important points, and addressing pain points probably does not need to be on there, and you can communicate via a conversation rather than a big PowerPoint presentation. Next, when you clean up your slides, use social proof strategically. Now, of course, in the modern B2B era, social proof is a vital component of any successful sale. Positive reviews can be incredibly powerful, even if the buyer doesn't know the reviewer directly. But research shows that displaying social proof very early on in your pitch can hurt your close rate. So perhaps save it for a little bit later. If possible, use faces, use names, use companies that the prospect can relate to, and try and avoid any companies that perhaps have negative press that might alienate them. The fact that you're working with this shocker of an organization. And the final step of this framework is an obvious one that, again, I see so many salespeople fail on. You need to practice incessantly to build true, real confidence. So be sure to practice your sales presentation several times before you step out in front of your audience. And doing so is going to allow you to build real confidence, not fake, macho, like confidence, none of that nonsense. When you've been through the same presentation many times, over and over and over, it sinks deep into your subconscious and you know what you're going to say before you say it. And this is how you come across as an expert and a thought leader to your potential customers. Memorize specific metrics and statistics. Rehearse answers to any common questions that you know are going to get thrown your direction. And of course, be careful though, because coming across as too scripted is a surefire way of losing attention. Instead, stay flexible in your delivery. I'm going to go off track here. I'm reading this from an auto cue. And every now and again, I'll go off the beaten track. I'll say something like I'm saying now, and it just breaks up the presentation. It makes it a little bit more natural and a little bit more real. And so feel free to do that in your presentation as well. During the live presentation, you might notice that some of the things you've practiced in the moment, selling points, statistics, data aren't landing as well as you planned. And if that's the case, be prepared to shift course if need be, to change things up and to mix it up as well. Often in big, complex B2B sales, especially if we're going out to tender, especially if we are competing directly with other companies, other brands, and there's a procurement team involved, the success of the deal can hinge entirely on one sales presentation. Done poorly, you're going to alienate the prospect and you're going to lead them to side with your competition. But presentations done well are going to create enthusiastic buyers that link your product with the solution to their pesky problem. So there we have it. I hope you enjoyed this Selling Made Simple video. If you want to watch the next one in this series, if you want to continue your sales education, if you want to continue making selling simple, click the video that's on the screen right now.